What up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Curated Topics, brought to you by Curated Sense LLC. How's everybody doing tonight? As you can see, I'm ecstatic. My boy got the job done. I know I do the candle of the evening to start it off right every night, but I'm skipping over that tonight. I'm coming back to it, but I'm skipping over it for right now. We gonna talk about Myles Garrett. Shout out to Myles Garrett. He got the sack record, and he got that sack in the last game right there in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was storybook, beautiful, all that. And he got the job done. Hold on, let's give a good job, Myles. Great job. So, as I was saying, Myles Garrett, he got the sack, and the Browns got the win over the Cincinnati Bengals in the final game of the season. He got the sack needed to pass both TJ Watt, who was on that other team, and the great Michael Strahan to become the king of the single season sack record, which is now set at 23. And no coincidence at all, after getting that sack record, especially with it being at 23, he has now joined the Jordan team as well. So just shout out to Myles Garrett. Great job. Great job. Congratulations. You deserve all the flowers. So we're going to give them to you over here at Curated Topics. What a great season, man. What a great season. It actually, the only reason I would even watch Browns games at one point, especially before Shedeur Sanders got into the game. Now, I did watch for Shedeur as well. And Shedeur, he had a rough game to start, but he helped us bring in the win as well. But back to Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is really what had Cleveland fans still participating and tuning in and watching the way that we do. And I want to give him a special shout out because he performed even during a losing season. This season was a wash, and it was a wash for a long time. But his play and his performance really set the tone. It set the standard for the league. It set the standard for excellence and performance throughout the league. And he still got the job done despite us not being very good offensively. We were still ranked, I think, in the top 5 in defense. And that is no small task, but also it just is a testament to the work that he put in, and it is a testament to his greatness. And I'm just happy for the brother, okay? And he did so in a record amount of time. I think he now leads in terms of sack percentage to how many snaps he's taken in his career. Balls. He's just an all-around beast, monster, talent, and you just got to give it up to him, man. He deserves all the flowers. Now, I want you all to pay attention to this. This isn't the motivation for this particular episode, but I want you all to pay attention to this. And I've talked about this before. You know, sometimes it can seem like you're in a losing effort, but it's still on you to perform. It's still on you to do your best, and it's still on you to try your best to achieve whatever goals it is that you have in mind. And this is the perfect example. Myles Garrett had a goal for this season, especially after he started seeing early results, and he went out there and got the job done. So, you know, shout out to him. I know he wanted to get up to like 25 sacks, and the Steelers and the Bengals really tried very hard to keep him from breaking that record, and he still got it done. Now, it was funny, he did his interview after the game, and he talked about how he was having like a nightmare that he didn't end up getting the sack and he didn't end up breaking the record. And, you know, I really want to bring that to our attention. How many of us have had those kinds of feelings? How many of us have had nightmares where we're like, oh, I'm not going to get it done. I'm not going to do this. And then we end up folding under the pressure because we have put that pressure on ourselves and we don't perform. Well, he did not let his own fears stop him from achieving his goals. He woke up, he said, you know what? I gotta shake that off. You know, he had that nervous feeling, he had some anxiety, and he put his faith in himself, and he put his faith in his team, and he said, you know what, I'm going out there and I'm gonna get it done. Even if it's only one sack, that's all he needed. And he went out there and he got it done. So shout out to him. Shout out to you, Myles Garrett. Great job, Brownies, on pulling it all together and getting the win. It was a little bit scary there at the end. The Bengals marched down and they went up by 1, and it was like, oh boy, here we go. Shoutout came back in, he marched us on down, and shout out to the kicker too. Now, at the beginning of the year, you missed those kicks in the very first game. You missed those kicks against the Bengals, and you know what? You got your get back because you made this one and you won us the game. So I want to give him a little bit of a shout out as well, but this was all about 95 today. Great job, Myles. All right, we're going to backtrack. Now we're going to do our candle of the evening. This here is a Crown Royal crystal glass. Now, I don't think I've ever showed y'all this before. This is purely for decoration. I did it because there was actually a little bit of like a streak on the crystal, and I didn't want to drink out of it anymore. You know, crystal got to be clear. I don't want no smudges and all of that. So I just filled that up with like some leftover wax that I had from a candle that I made, and it's just for decoration. It's just gonna sit there and it'll smell good, you know. But let's give it the old smell testing. It smells so good. Now this is probably, I don't know. I think I'm gonna do a video about that. Sorry, I'm sidetracking, but I think I'm gonna do, this is a perfume scent, and I think I'm gonna do a video of like my top 5 perfume scents, top 5 cologne scents, and all of that. I'm gonna do that a little bit later, but once again, hold on, smell test again. It smells so good. Now this is the Dior, fashioned after the perfume scent from Dior. I hope I said that right. And like I said before, it's done in a Crown Royal crystal glass, simply for decoration, just so I can, you know, put it up and maybe take some pictures or something. But this scent is elegant and rich with prominent floral notes from ylang ylang, Damascus rose, and jasmine sambac. I hope I said that right. It's also balanced with hints of fresh fruit like pear, mandarin, and plum. And then it has some sensual aromas coming from vanilla, musk, and cedar. So check us out online. That is at curatedsentsllc.com. Also check out our Instagram. I have a lot of customer satisfaction posts and videos and a whole bunch of other things on our Instagram, and that's curated_scents_LLC. Check us out. I promise you will not be disappointed. I promise. All right, so we have talked about our sports and we did our candle of the evening. We're going to take a quick commercial break right before we get to the motivational piece.
We've run over 16,000 people through our Red Line Challenge, and on average, people lose 4 pounds in 5 days without ever being hungry. It's very simple. I put all foods on this big chart. I drew a red line right here. Simply eat the foods below the red line for 5 days and watch what happens to your blood pressure. Watch what happens to your glucose. Watch what happens to your weight. If you want to lose weight, if you want to reverse type 2 diabetes, if you want to reverse your heart disease, it's very simple. Join my Red Line Challenge.
All right, we are back. And what I want to talk about for the motivational piece, now this is kind of going to be an introductory piece. I had mentioned in a older video that I wanted to cover a book that I'm reading. It's called Emotional Intelligence 2.0, and it's all about increasing your EQ. Now, I've titled this motivational piece, this is the last part of the networking series, and it is about soft skills. Now, soft skills have to do with your EQ. What do they have to do with your EQ, Brian? Well, your soft skills, directly play into EQ. And EQ is your emotional intelligence. Are you able to connect with others? Are you aware of yourself? Do you have control or awareness of your emotions? That's your EQ. And where soft skills come into play, soft skills are about your communication. How do you communicate with others? Are you well liked amongst others? Those sorts of things. And that plays directly into your emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence is a little bit different from IQ. How is it different? IQ has more to do with what do you know, right? So that's, do you understand facts? Do you know facts? Do you think at a high capacity? That's all great. But when it comes to networking, and I will talk about this a little bit more in a minute, when it comes to networking, it's not always about your expertise. It's not always about what you know. Now, a lot of the times it is, because you do have to present some sort of value. But the most important thing about networking is, how do you communicate that value? How do you even communicate the fact that you have value? Before you ever get to talking about what you know with someone, you have to actually talk to them. You have to use your emotional intelligence to speak to people, to know how to approach people. That is where soft skills come into play. So I want to talk about an example right quick. I want to use Young Sheldon. And I don't know how many people are familiar with that show, but it stems off of the Big Bang Theory, which is a sitcom about scientists and really just them being friends and them living their lives and all of that. And there's a character named Sheldon. And Sheldon is he's by far the smartest out of all of them. But at the same time, where Sheldon is very smart, he lacks in emotional intelligence, and he lacks in those soft skills. This guy, he is a genius. He has an extremely high IQ, but he wasn't very liked by many because he didn't understand emotional cues. He didn't understand how to approach people. He didn't understand nuances behind conversations, and he didn't understand how to communicate effectively with others. For him, it was just, all right, I'm going to say what I got to say. My opinion is the most important. What I think is what matters most, and everything has to kind of revolve around me. And that's not how it goes. That's not how you effectively network. In my favorite episode of Young Sheldon, and it's funny, this episode is really funny. So Sheldon is a twin, and he and his sister are fraternal twins, and they are complete opposites. Like Sheldon's over here, his sister's all the way over here. They are polar opposites. So their father wants to take them to do this test that is being run by some researchers. They're doing tests on twins. And so their father finds out, oh, you can get paid for this. So he's like, oh yeah, let's do it. And he takes them over there to get tested. Now, Sheldon, when he gets told, oh yeah, they want to do some research on you and do some tests, Sheldon gets excited. He's like, oh yeah, let's do it. I know all the facts. And that statement right there just shows you how he even was going to approach it. He's thinking, oh, am I about to take some tests, or is this something that is going to challenge my mental capacity? And in some ways, yes, it was, but actually the test was not really about facts. When they arrive, Sheldon and his sister, they go into a room and they get to talking to the researchers, and they're being recorded and all of that. And a lot of the questions that the researchers ask are more emotionally charged. They're more, well, how do you feel about this photo? Tell me what you see in this picture and this and that. And Sheldon's very just matter of fact. He's like, oh, well, this person's looking out a window or something like that. And you see that, okay, Sheldon is looking at this very analytically, whereas his sister is like, she's like, oh, well, this person, they're looking out the window, but there's a painting in the corner, so maybe they saw that and they're having a memory, and it's actually kind of making them sad. And then the researcher's like, well, how are you getting all that from this photo? And she's like, well, if you look, the person's got a tear coming down their face, and it kind of looks like their eyes are split because they're looking this way, but like halfway out the window, but also kind of there, and this and this and this. And you see that she is using emotional cues to figure out what's going on and what's being depicted. So for her, it's not just, oh, matter of fact, but she's actually looking at the nuances behind what's trying to be portrayed. She even goes as far as to bring up how the researchers were interacting with each other. So there was a female researcher and then there was a male, and she was like, Sheldon's sister, her name is Missy. So Missy was like, that other guy likes you. You should wear your hair back because he'll pay attention to you more. And the researcher's like, wait, what? What are you talking? Like, huh? And she's like, yeah, he looks at you like you're cute. He checks out your bottom and all that. And it was hilarious because they're like 9 or 10 years old, and she's picking up on all these little cues and emotional things. And she is telling this other researcher how she can improve her soft skills to get the kind of result that she would want. She's like, yeah, and you should wear a belt. It would make you look hotter, and he'll want to come over and talk to you. And then so they leave for the day. And the next day they come back, and the lady has put her hair back. She didn't put a belt on. And the male researcher, he starts looking at her a little bit longer, to the point where as the family's leaving after the second day, the male researcher's like, hey, you want to go grab lunch after this, or go grab a coffee or something? And Missy turns around and looks back and gives her the old thumbs up, like, see, I told you. That's the type of things that are in soft skills, and they show you the value through this episode. They show you the value of soft skills and emotional intelligence. And so I really wanted to bring that up because soft skills kind of ties into the next series that I want to do, talking about how to increase your emotional intelligence, not only through increasing your soft skills, but through your self-awareness and your awareness of others as well. So I thought this was a good segue, but it's still important to have those soft skills when you're trying to do things like network. And there's a lot of value in having good soft skills and having a high EQ, especially when it comes to networking. So some of the advantages. Well, like I said before, having good soft skills can lead to you being more well-liked. And when you're more well-liked by the group is more agreeable to your thoughts and your ideas. You have greater influence when people like who you are. Looking back at the young Sheldon, for example, here it is. Missy was talking to the one researcher, the female researcher, and they had a little thing going on where they were chit-chatting and this and that. And by the end of the day, or the end of the episode, the female researcher liked Missy and took her ideas and actually got a result from it. That's how you want to be when you're trying to network with people. You want people to like who you are, and they won't know who you are unless you show them. Soft skills are your way to communicate with others and show them that you are somebody who is of good standing, but also can be liked. You are somebody who people would like. Now, on the flip side of that, you also have to be kind of careful. There are times where we get excited. There are times when we get energized and all of that. And you don't want to do something where the group instantly doesn't like you. And I bring this up because I have an example. There was a guy, I won't use his name. But he was a famous senator. former governor, excuse me. And he was very well liked. He was actually running for president. And at the time, he looked like the front runner. I mean, everybody was liking this guy at this time. There was very few people who were going against this guy. And he really looked like he was about to be the front runner for the candidacy. And he had a campaign, and he was on the campaign trail, and he went up there and he said, "My name is such and such, and I'm going to be your next president." And in that instant, first of all, those were not good soft skills. He should have left it at, "I'm going to be your next president." I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. Let's call it a brain fart. But in that moment, you saw him go from being up here to very well liked to all the way out the race. Like and it happened so quickly. But this is the thing, you have to be aware, you have to be self-aware, and utilize your soft skills. You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. You got to know when to, okay, I've done what I needed to do, I got the people going, cut. I use that as that example because, you know, you can lose influence quickly when people don't like you. You can lose influence very quickly when people don't like you. When you're liked by the group, people are more willing to help you when they like you. I'm gonna use myself for an example. At my current job, one of the locations I work at, I have to go and see the secretary to get parking validation each day. So I think the very first day, I don't think she was in, so I didn't meet her. And so then like I had to come down my next day there, and I went to meet her, and I came down at the end of the day just because that's what I was told to do. Come down at the end of the day, you know, greet the secretary so you can get your parking validated. So she hadn't met me yet because she wasn't there. So I came down, and you know, maybe she was having a bad day or something like that. I don't really know. But I came down and I had a smile on my face, and I said, you know, "Hi, how you doing? Here's who I am. Here's why I'm here." And I came to get my parking validated. And she made one comment. She said, "Everybody just comes to get their parking validated. No one comes and like says hello anymore or anything like that." And the way she said it, it was a little bit attitude behind it, but I knew it wasn't directed at me. So what I did was I said, "Oh, well, you know, I apologize. I was told to come down at the end of the day. I didn't know, you know, sorry about that." And I tried to play it off as best I could. I didn't want to greet her with any more attitude or anything like that. You know, it didn't make a big deal to me, but I could hear where she was coming from. It's like, okay, we're on a different floor most of the time, so no one comes to talk to you. And I didn't see her attitude as like an attack on me or anything, but it made me do something else. So what did I do? The next time going, I went and I put all my stuff away at the beginning of the day, and then I went downstairs to greet her and say hello and just kind of chop it up a little bit, have some small talk. And when I came down that next time seeing her, she said, "Oh, it's kind of early. You getting your validation already?" And I said, "No, you can keep that. I'll come down again at the end of the day." And she was like, "Oh, well, do you need something?" I was like, "No, I just came down to say hello to you. Hope you're having a good day," and just kind of have some small talk. And her tune completely changed. She was ecstatic that somebody came down to just talk to her. And she went from being kind of down and having a little bit of an attitude to now every time I come, there's a smile. We have that chit chat. We talk for a couple of minutes, and that is great to have. So it seems like something small because it's just, you know, me getting my parking validated, but it's very, very helpful when, you know, she is more agreeable to do so. There was a time where I was actually coming down as she was about to leave the building, so I wouldn't have been able to get my parking validated. That's $20 out of my pocket. She had all her stuff in her hands and she saw me coming down, and she put her stuff down and turned around and said, "Oh, no, I gotta make sure you got your validation. You always come down and speak to me. You come and you said hi." And she even acknowledged the fact that, like, the one time she was having a rough day. And I said, I appreciate that, and I thank you for taking the time to grab that for me. But just that small thing, building up a relationship with somebody, it can benefit you. That's how you increase your soft skills. Just the little things. You don't know what could turn somebody's day around. Greeting somebody with a smile, as I said before in the last video. Greeting somebody with a smile, being polite, those sorts of things. It doesn't make you a chump. It doesn't make you a punk. It doesn't make you soft. It's just you are using your soft skills so that you can make somebody else more agreeable to what it is that you're trying to do. And why not? You're spreading a little bit of positivity in the world. Why not do that? You don't have to just be rough and tough all the time. Being nice to somebody else can help you, but it also helps them. You are now seen as a positive light for somebody else. People should light up when you walk in the room. They should feel that sort of energy coming off of you when you walk in the room. And not only that, they'll be more willing to give you grace for when you're having a rough day. When you're having a tough day, or you might disagree with somebody. Let's say you have a disagreement with somebody. That's an even better fact. Let's say you have a disagreement with somebody who likes you. They're more willing to put up with the fact that you all have a disagreement. They may be more willing to say, you know what, we can agree to disagree, versus you disagreeing with them and now it's become conflict and now it's become a real issue. When you're liked by somebody, you all can have a disagreement and maybe quickly move on. You can have a disagreement, talk things out. You can have a disagreement and y'all just, hey, we just disagree here. But that comes from having good soft skills. That comes from being liked by others. Now, I want to backtrack a little bit when I talked about EQ versus IQ. The idea that it's not so much about what you know, but more about who you know. That is especially true. That is especially true when it comes to networking. It's not always about what you know. It's definitely going to be about who you know. Now, I got a few examples. When I met one of my coworkers at work, we were talking about our interests and things like that, and he was sharing some of his ideas with me. And this was directly after I left the Power of Networking experience. And so, he's sharing his ideas with me and what he does. And this was really our first real interaction. And as he's talking, I'm just getting, ideas are flowing because I just came from this networking experience. I just learned all these things. As he's talking, I'm starting to get ideas and things like that I wanted to share with him. So I politely asked him, I said, "Hey man, while you're talking, do you mind if I take some notes down? And do you mind if I, share some ideas with you?" He looked at me kind of funny, like, okay, I just met you, but sure. And I immediately started taking notes on what he was talking about and the ideas that he had. So, as he's sharing his ideas, I'm brainstorming on ways that he can expand. I only did so because he mentioned being interested in expanding his ideas. So I'm taking all the little nuggets I just learned at the Power Networking experience and I'm sharing them with him. So I'm telling him, hey, here's what I learned, you should do this, you should do this, I had a whole, I wrote out a full 1-page notes on just some steps that he might want to take. I wasn't trying to tell him to do it. I wasn't trying to force him to do it. I was just sharing, when you learn stuff you want to share, especially when you hear it coming from somewhere else. So that's what I was doing. And, he took the paper and he was reading it and he was like, "Oh yeah, some of these are great." And I could tell that he liked that I had the ideas and he liked that I was presenting them to him. But you know how people will be like, "Oh yeah, this is great, but they not really, taking you seriously like that. I didn't mention this because I saw that, but I did see, how his facial expressions and how he was kind of taking the information that I gave him. But I told him, hey, I got a lot of these ideas from this power of networking experience that I was just at. And he said, oh, okay, I think I've heard of that before. Who all is involved? And I said, well, there's one guy and he started it and he is actually from Cleveland. So I don't know if you know him or not. You might have heard his name before, but his name is Dr. Frazier. And it was like a light bulb went off for this guy. He looked at me, he said, oh, I know you for real now. I know Dr. Frazier. See, it's not always about what you know. I presented him with what I knew, but he didn't take me fully serious until I presented him with who I knew and where I got the information. He said, oh, I know you for real now. Oh, I'm definitely, he went from having it folded up, about to go into his pocket, to he opened it up, put it on top of his stuff and was really reading it. And then got to asking me questions. He was like, oh, I see I mentioned that he might want to start a podcast. He was like, it's funny that you said that because I got all the equipment and stuff, but I don't know this. And how do you do this? And what kind of programs do you use? And it was to the point where the next time I came in, I just showed him everything I used. I was like, here's what I use to do recording. Here's what I use to do editing. You don't have to have no fancy setup. Just, here's how I got started. And I showed him. But that connection wouldn't have been made if it wasn't about who I knew. Now, I could tell he kind of liked some of the ideas that I wrote down. But once I dropped the name of who I knew, it was a totally different conversation. The conversation was way more serious, way more engaging, and all of that. Now, I'll use my time in college as another experience. Now, especially as a freshman and sophomore, we would go when you're new to the school, you go party hunting because you don't necessarily just get the invites like that because you're new. That's gonna happen. You don't know everybody yet. You're the fresh meat, So when you're going out, you just kind of walking around until you can see which party is cool to slide into. The common phrase especially for house parties, when you would roll up to somebody's house party, if it wasn't just open all like that, the common phrase that you hear is, who do you know here? I'm gonna sidetrack for a quick second. That's another reason why I think a lot of people should go to college. College helps you build up your EQ. It helps you become more social. If there are things that you like to do and like to have a social life and things like that, going to college is a great place for that. Not simply because of the parties. The social life is, there's partying, but even when it comes to whatever your interests are, in order for you to get into those groups, in order for you to be in those circles so that you can really explore your interests, you got to talk to people. You have to talk to people. And not only that, you got to be liked by them as well. I was part of a faith group when I was in college, my first 2 years. It ran by a couple of upperclassmen, and I got cool with them. We would start watching basketball together. We would start playing basketball together. The way I got some of my roommates was because I met them and they were like, Brian is cool. And so when I was trying to move off campus, they actually invited me to come and live with them because they had a room that opened up. I won't go into all the circumstances of how the room opened up, but they were like, yo, we need somebody to sublease the room. Hey, Brian, are you looking for a room? I heard you was about to move off campus. I couldn't achieve these things without establishing a relationship with these people, and that I had to use soft skills. I had to use my soft skills. I had to be able to communicate with them. I had to establish a friendship and establish good working relationships with them. And we are friends to this day, almost 10 years later. So these are the kinds of ways that, going to college and things like that can help you out. Now, I have another example, and this one is really funny. There was a guy I met. He actually went to my school, but I didn't meet him initially at school. I went home during a Christmas break, and I went and visited one of my best friends who was having a little get together over at his new house. So I go over, I'm hanging out with him and his wife, and they got a bunch of their friends over, and there's this other guy over there, and we all got to talking, and the guy walks up on me, pause, and he was like, yeah, I see you got your college stuff on. Do you go there? And I was like, yeah, I'm there right now. I'm actually home on break. And he said, oh, I haven't seen you around. I go there too. And so we get to talking, and okay, well, where's your favorite spot to go? And this, and where do you normally hang out? Who do you know on campus? Cause we're trying to figure out like how we haven't crossed paths before. Cause he was like, hey man, you super cool. Like, you are super cool. I don't know how I haven't seen you before. Like, we mentioned being at some of the same places and all of that. Using my soft skills, this is how I met this person. And I said it's funny because I came back home after graduating from school, and I went to a little house party over in one of the neighborhoods here, and my cousin invited me. So I really only knew my cousin there. I think there might have been one other person that I knew who was both me and my cousin's friend. And so every once in a while, I'd have people coming up to me like, hey, who do you know here? We haven't seen you before, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it got to the point where one of the hosts was like, hey, who do you know here? Because I'd never seen you before. And I was like, oh, I know this guy's my cousin, and, that's our friend. That's the extent of it. And it was kind of like, okay. And then out of nowhere pops up the dude who I met at my best friend's house during his get together. And he's like, no, this guy's cool, man. I know him from college. I know him from this and this. And I was like, hey, yo, it's you. I didn't even know he was there. Like, I didn't even know he was there. So they were like, yeah, don't give him a hard time. He's always cool. He always got something, he always brings stuff to contribute, all of that. So now everybody's like, oh yeah, he cool. I've been validated at the party. You know what I'm saying? So now everybody, they can relax, because, hey, sometimes I get it. You see a big man who's unfamiliar, and so you got questions. I get it. And I'm not, once again, I didn't take any offense to it or anything like that. And I'm using my soft skills to navigate through the situation. But it helps when, like I said, who do you know? Somebody came who knew me and validated me at the party. So now everybody can relax, and we all kicking it, turning up, and all of that. And we had a great time. Now, here's where it was funny. Here's the funny part. And my cousin will know what I'm talking about. So dude rolled up, and he, said he knows me, and oh yeah, this dude's cool, and all of this and this and this. And then he called me by the wrong name. He said, yeah, my boy Mike. And we all were like, bro, who is Mike? It was so fun. It was so funny because I took it a step further. And so I'm just going along with it because I know the dude. Like, I know the dude. I know his name. I know he knows me. He recognizes me. He's probably a little lit at the time. So he called me by the wrong name. And I just made it a whole inside joke. So he's introducing me to everybody as Mike. And so then he was like, yeah, but I forgot your last name. We were in a group and he was talking. He's like, yeah, but I forgot his last name. What's your last name, man? And I was like, oh, you don't remember? It's Lowry. And if you know what I'm talking about, then shout out to Bad Boys, but you should know what I'm talking about. So then he's like, oh yeah, my guy, Mike Lowry. And it was hilarious because He then took it and ran with it throughout the whole party. I mean, I got introduced to everybody in this party as Mike Lowry. And nobody got the joke except me and my cousin and our friend. Nobody else got the joke. So we are just dying. And my cousin to this day tells me that my name saved in his phone is Mike Lowry from that instance. But that just goes to show you, soft skills can help you out in any type of situation, or in most types of situations. Soft skills are going to help you out. Now, even though he didn't get my name right, he still validated me at the party. I was still welcome into the function because I actually knew somebody outside of the people I showed up with. So once again, that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. It segues into my next point. When you're trying to accomplish something, or when you're trying to add yourself into a new group, when you're trying to network with people, it always helps when you come highly recommended. When you fill out a job application, when you write your resume, when you fill out college applications, when you're trying to get a scholarship, if you're filling out any type of application where they might ask you for recommendations, you want to come highly recommended. There was a time where now this was before I started college. I have told you all, I never graduated high school. I got my GED. And I had a time period where I was in between getting my GED and starting college. And during that time, I did a lot of working. I did some volunteer internships and things like that, where I was able to learn, but also able to explore my interests and things like that. And I wouldn't have been able to do any of that without being recommended for those positions. Now, I'm going to use a specific example. So I had spent a summer working at one of the colleges here, and I worked in their lab doing kind of a makeshift summer program. Like I said, it was a volunteer internship that I had been recommended for by a previous boss. She knew somebody who was looking for a little bit of help. And so he offered me the position. He said, okay, well, you know this person and we're good friends. And I told them I'd help you out. And I'm looking for somebody who can help me out around the lab anyway. So I learned some very basic techniques and things like that. And I developed a good relationship with the people there, to the point where they were inviting me to the work cookouts and all of that. I would get invited to all the picnics, all the events. They really liked that I was a big athletic guy because I helped them during the softball games. I was the surefire home run. So, all those things helped me out though. During those times, I'm able to talk about who I am. I'm able to tell them, not all the way, but loosely about my situation. And they were helping me out. But it's only because I use my soft skills. It's only because I developed a good relationship with those people that they were ever even willing to help me out. So after that summer, when it came time for me to, look for something else, the guy was comfortable with me and he said, okay, I don't have anything for you at this time, but I'm going to recommend you to another one of the professors. He's downstairs and he's looking for some help as well. Now, he helped set up the interview. He helped schedule the time. He sent the recommendation on down. And then when I interviewed with this person, I think I've said this in another video, he ended up being the father of one of my grade school teachers. So as you see, first of all, you never know how your network is going to intertwine. You never know who knows who knows what. But here it is. I have developed a good relationship with one of the professors to the point where he was willing to help me and send me somewhere else. And he didn't, where he sent me, I'm going to use his initial, Dr. H. So Dr. W sent me to Dr. H. And Dr. H said, well, you come highly recommended. Why is that important? Well, this was at a time where I was dealing with some struggles. I didn't really have much of a resume to go on to show my skills. All I knew was some basic techniques. I didn't know as much as some of the other college students who might have applied for a position. And this person still hired me. Dr. H still hired me based on the word of someone else, despite the fact that I wasn't even in college at the time. And I went on to work with Dr. H, and I think I've talked about this in another video. He turned out to be the father of my grade school teacher. So not only do I come highly recommended from somebody he works with, I come highly recommended from a family member when he asked his family member about me. I went on to work for this guy for a couple of years, and he helped me in a multitude of ways. He allowed me to sit in on some of his classes. So now I'm learning things on the side as well as working in there. And to be honest, this type of situation, I probably should have been paying him. He found some ways to pay me. This was a volunteer internship. He found some ways to put some money in my pocket because he knew what was going on. And as I went on to work for him, I actually helped bring in some other students into the lab. I helped train them on some of the basic techniques. I didn't know anything too complicated, but I helped train them on some of those basic techniques. And it got to a point where he was comfortable enough to train me on some more complex work. And then not only that, when it came time for me to, transition into other things, he recommended me for a program that helped because it was a summer program for high school students, but he recommended me to the leader of that program, who also had met me before and liked me, and they were able to work it out for me so that I could join that program, participate, get paid, but also it put me in a position where I was able to present the research that we were doing to other doctors, other businesses, and other people who were from the city who were pretty important, and they helped me along the way and helped me to move forward. And I wish Dr. H was still alive so that I could say thank you to him. I'll say thank you now. Thank you, Dr. H. But I wish that he was still alive because I would like him to see that his efforts were not wasted, but also the fact that I appreciate our relationship. I appreciate that we had a good relationship, and I appreciate that he took the time out to help me move forward. So that's the value of having good soft skills. That's the value of having good emotional intelligence, but also having good relationships with people. All that takes soft skills. You have to know how to talk to people. You have to know how to communicate with them. You have to know how to establish a good relationship. And also you have to learn how to manage conflict when conflict happens. And we're going to talk about all of those things moving forward and how to increase your emotional intelligence and your EQ during this series. And I'm going to go through the book Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I'm going to talk about some of the tips and things that they recommend, and I'm going to put my own little spin on it and provide my own little examples. But that's what I'm going to talk about in the upcoming videos. So I know I got a little long-winded there. I appreciate you all for sticking with me and listening to that. But let's move on. Let's get into some music. The album of the week. This is by one of my favorite female artists, actually, and her name is Snow the Product, and she just dropped an album not too long ago. It's called Before I Crash Out. I'm going to post a picture of it up here in the video so you can see. But I like this album. Now, especially, as of late, she has a lot of things to say with what's going on in the country right now, and I'm not going to get political, but I have always, ever since I first heard her, I think I heard her in a song with like Tech Nine or something like that. I have always liked her. She's a very lyrical artist. Very, very good. She got bars, man. She got bars. She's very versatile. in the way that she raps. She can make some songs that'll have you thinking, and she can also make some songs that will really have you kind of turned up, you know. But I love her music. I like that she is proud of her heritage. Now, I don't want to get this wrong. I don't want to say she's a Mexican rapper, but potentially. I know she raps in Spanish a lot, but I love the fact that she is proud of where she comes from and who she is and all of those sorts of things. So y'all go check her out. The album is called Before I Crash Out. I'm looking at it on my phone. That's why I'm dipping my head down. But y'all go check it out. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Please give me some feedback. Also, tell me what y'all think about tonight's topic. I know it's a little bit long, but I think that it's very important. And I think that, you know, by practicing some of those things, by having good relationships with good people, you all will start to see that you can turn your life around simply by aligning yourself with the correct people. And that's why I did the whole networking series. I really wanted to push that out to you all. I hope that it helps somebody. I hope that you all can relate to it, and I hope you all get something out of it. Like I always say, we are building each other up over here. That's men, that's women, that's everybody. I'm gonna do one more shout out again to Myles Garrett. Great job, sir. Great job this past Sunday. I hope everybody just has a great week. Happy Monday to you all. And as I always say, I'll catch y'all on the next one.